Hello dear fans. How a mirror is made. Almost 2 centuries ago, archaeologists discovered a strange metal disc in one of the pyramids of Egypt. There were no hieroglyphs on it, but there was a solid layer of rust. The disc was attached to a heavy statuette in the shape of a young woman. The purpose of the disc was debated for a long time. Some scientists argued that these were kitchen utensils like a modern frying pan, while others were sure that such discs were used as a fan. However, it turned out that the rusty metal circle is a mirror. How were mirrors made in antiquity? Mirrors in ancient Egypt were made of bronze. They gave a fuzzy and dull image, and due to high humidity, they quickly darkened and lost their reflective properties. As the centuries passed, silver mirrors began to be made in Europe. The reflection in them was quite distinct, but the main enemy of such mirrors was time. Silver dimmed, and besides, it was very expensive. In Russia, in the homes of wealthy people, there were damask mirrors made of steel. However, they quickly lost their original shine, became cloudy and covered with a reddish-blue rust. Then people did not yet know that it is possible to prevent damage to a reflective surface, quite simply, protect it from moisture and air. A thin and transparent material was needed. For example, glass. But neither the Egyptians, not the Romans, nor the Slavs knew how to make transparent glass sheets. Only Murano craftsmen succeeded. It was the Venetians who were able to optimize the process and comprehend the secrets of making transparent glass. It happened at the end of the XII beginning of the 13th century. By the way, it was the workers from the island of Murano who figured out how to turn a blown glass ball into a flat sheet. However, it was not possible to connect a metal surface polished to a shine and glass. When cold, they did not stick together tightly, but when hot, the glass invariably burst. It was necessary to apply a thin metal film on a thick sheet of glass. Finally, the technology was developed. A sheet of tin was placed on a smooth marble pedestal and poured over with mercury. Tin dissolved in mercury, and after cooling, a film as thick as tissue paper was obtained, which was called amalgam. Glass was placed on top of it. The amalgam stuck. This is how the first mirror was made, more or less similar to the modern one. The Venetians kept the secret of the technology of making mirrors for several centuries. The rulers of European countries, and then the rich and the nobility, were ready to give most of their fortune, just to buy a mirror. Once the Venetian Republic presented a mirror to the French Queen Maria de' Medici. It was the most expensive gift ever received on the occasion of a wedding. The mirror was no larger than a book. It was estimated at 150,000 francs. Carrying a tiny mirror with you has become fashionable at the courts of most European states. French Minister Colbert did not sleep at night, realizing that French money literally floats to Venice and will never return. And then he vowed to reveal the secret of the Venetian mirror makers. The French ambassador went to Venice and bribed 3 Venetians who knew the secret of making mirrors. One dark autumn night on a boat from the island of Murano, several craftsmen escaped. In France, they were hidden so well that the spies never managed to find them. A few years later, the first French mirror glass factory opened in the Norman forests. The Venetians are no longer monopolists. The cost of the mirror is much lower. Not only nobles, but also merchants and wealthy artisans could afford to buy it. The rich did not even know where else to attach another purchased mirror. The reflective glass sheet was attached to beds, wardrobes, tables, and chairs. Tiny pieces of mirrors were even sewn into ball gowns. There was mirror torture in Spain. The person was put in a room with mirrored walls, mirrored ceiling and floor. Of all the furnishings in the room, there was only an always burning lamp. And from all sides a person saw only his own reflection. A few days later, the prisoner of the mirror room simply went crazy. However, even the best craftsmen could not make large mirrors. And the quality left much to be desired. The glass sheet was uneven and therefore the reflection was distorted. The evolution of mirror technology. The French still managed to make large mirrors. They poured molten glass onto wide and long iron tables with limiting sides, then rolled it out with a shaft made of cast iron. But the glass was still uneven. And then sand was poured on this sheet, and another glass was placed on top, and the sheets began to shift relative to each other. The work was monotonous, tedious, and painstaking. To create a small mirror, 2 craftsmen spent about 30 hours grinding. However, after grains of sand, the glass became dull due to a huge number of microscopic scratches. The glass was polished with a small board upholstered with felt. This work took up to 70 hours. After a while, machines began to do all the work. Plaster of Paris was poured onto a round table. Glass sheets were placed on top using a crane. Then the table was rolled up under the discs of the grinding, and then the polishing machine, which rotated rapidly. Subsequently, instead of tin, mercury was applied to the glass surface. However, all types and compositions of amalgam known to mankind gave a too pale reflection, and in the manufacture of the master, they constantly dealt with harmful mercury vapors. This technology was abandoned about 150 years ago. A very thin layer of silver was applied to the glass sheet. In order not to damage it, the surface was covered with paint on top. Such mirrors were almost as good as modern ones in terms of reflection quality, but they were expensive. Now, in a vacuum chamber, not silver is sprayed onto glass, but aluminum. No more than 1 gram of metal is consumed per square meter, and therefore mirrors are cheap and generally available. Thanks for watching.